Top of the evening to all those tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Corey Englehart. This week on the show, things may get a bit esoteric as we dive into the topic of consciousness. For those wondering, consciousness can be described as the sentience or awareness of internal and external existence. The big question being, where does it come from? Now, this is a question that's been argued for all of human existence since we became conscious. There's been disagreements between philosophers, scientists, mathematicians, you name it, all with different ideas as to at what stage we became self-aware. Now, does the brain give a rise to consciousness, or does consciousness give a rise to the brain? What does this mean, you ask? Well, when someone dies, their body still has a brain, at least most of the time. Now, does this mean that body is still conscious? No. Obviously, if that body is dead, that person is not conscious. Now, you can argue that a functioning brain gives a rise to consciousness, but how can you explain sleep and comas? Where does that consciousness go during these instances? Into thin air, just to return when the brain starts functioning again? Consciousness is not created by the body. It must be some external force working behind the brain. Remember, the brain is simply an organ within your body. You don't identify as your heart or as your stomach. So why identify as your brain? Thoughts are simply a mechanism of the brain. It never stops producing them. The brain produces thoughts just like the small intestine produces shit. Whether you like it or not, most people get caught in their own mind identifying with their thoughts or as their thoughts. And this is just not the case. You are not your thoughts. You are consciousness. You are life. You are not a human experiencing life. You are life experiencing a human. Most people get mistaken. They try to get through life instead of just living. The key to understanding the true nature of consciousness and life is awareness. Awareness within the body, awareness within the mind. By bringing awareness and presence to everything you do, you begin to transcend the habitual state of mind you have experienced most of your life. Humans have been both blessed and cursed with the gift of self-awareness. Humans are among the only self-aware species on the planet. Other species of animals such as domesticated dogs, apes, elephants, dolphins have all proven to be self-aware, but what about all of the other animals and species on this planet? This small group of animals is capable of creating meaningful relationships within their communities, yes, but what about the millions of other species on our planet? The millions of other species that are conscious of their surroundings, but not of the self. How and will they ever become conscious of the self? And with this being said, at what stage did we as humans become self-aware? These questions are troubling, but they're unanswered. Human beings could be described as the most conscious creatures roaming this earth. But how did that happen? What other species has been able to rise above nature and build massive cities, complex societies, and technology that can take us off this terrestrial sphere and into space? The answer is none. Humans have a special sense of awareness and consciousness above all other species on Earth. But does this keen sense of self-awareness and consciousness contribute to our own suffering? I would say absolutely yes. The human mind is something to be marveled, more advanced than anything we find in nature or can create in a laboratory. We as humans create our conscious reality, and you probably wonder what I mean by that. So let me explain. Everyone has his or her own reality. Some people's inner reality is that they are an attractive, successful person. This shows in their life with their life situation, possessions, relationships, etc. Other people's inner realities are quite the opposite, and that shows in their life as well. The amazing thing about the human mind is we are capable of changing our own reality simply by manifesting it into existence. For example, if you believe the world is out to get you, bad luck always comes your way, you will frequently experience hardship and negative events in your life because life is essentially a mirror. Your inner reality is reflected back to you by your outer reality. Take control of your inner reality and assure yourself that you are an attractive, successful, confident individual, and your outer reality will reflect that, and your life will transform radically. Many people look to higher states of consciousness to better understand the self. These higher states of consciousness can be attained through meditation, breathwork, psychedelic drugs, or plant medicine, and even lucid dreaming. These states of consciousness allow you to access the subconscious mind, the default programming your mind has identified with previously. Your sense of self derives from past experiences and the stories you tell yourself of the past that you may be unaware of. It is important that people dive into their subconscious mind and sort out any trauma or unrest. By understanding the past, by just coming to terms with it or even being aware of it, you set yourself up for a better future. These higher states of consciousness allow you to directly access the subconscious and have been proven to positively impact emotional intelligence and overall satisfaction with life. Just as there are higher states of consciousness, there are also lower states of consciousness. These lower states refer to animals or more animalistic tendencies in humans, and humans just generally being unaware of the self or the ego. Too many people let their emotions consume them, and it's very difficult to deal with emotions by fighting with them rather than observing them. Observing your emotions allows you to disidentify from them. Typically, this is why people meditate. Meditation, among other ways of accessing higher states of consciousness, allows the individual to achieve stillness within the mind and observe their thoughts. There's a number of spiritual teachers who have reached a level of consciousness where they feel at peace at all times. A flow state, feeling no resistance from the powers that be. These spiritual teachers transcended the ego completely and were said to have reached a heightened state of awareness coined enlightenment by their followers. Historical figures such as Siddhartha Gautama or the Buddha and Jesus Christ were two spiritual teachers who taught their followers about the true nature of consciousness. Their messages have been significantly distorted by their followers who simply couldn't grasp their teachings. They were unable to transcribe their state of being into words because their feeling was beyond words. Looking to teachers such as the Buddha and Christ can help anyone understand consciousness much more clearly. Consciousness is a topic which most are vaguely aware of but don't put much thought into. For me, this is a topic I think I may put too much thought into. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness exists in all beings, whether they be plant, animal, or human. Self-awareness refers to the level at which consciousness becomes aware of itself. But what is the next step of consciousness? If we as humans have reached a critical level of self-awareness, where do we then evolve to the next dimension of consciousness? And what does that entail? Does the next level of consciousness begin when we have all transcended the egoic mind and are living in a state of oneness or isness with being as the Buddha and Jesus had? I think yes, in a sense, but I'm quite unsure what the next level of consciousness entails for humanity, as I would imagine it's beyond words. In any event, I'm eager to see more people awaken to the godly realm of consciousness and find happiness from within. Tonight, we'll be touching on many more aspects of consciousness, and I'll explain in more layman terms how to transcend the mind into the realm of true being. I'm Corey Engelhart. We will catch you after a short word from our sponsors.